back to you, Chair Harrington.
Great. This is the afternoon portion of the Washington County Board of Commissioners work session for Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. And we have a full complement of the commission today. So we're going to dive into our very first topic, starting off in the afternoon, medical examiner facilities feasibility study update. Now we have our subject matter experts to take us through this matter.
Thank you so much, Chair Harrington. Good afternoon, Board of County Commissioners, Chair Harrington. My name is Mira Samantel. I use she, her pronouns. I serve as the Director of Health and Human Services. And with me today are two incredible subject matter experts. I have Dr. Kimberly Repp, who is our Public Health Deputy Division Manager within the Department of Health and Human Services, and she oversees our Medical Examiner's Office. And then I also have Brian Robb, who is our Senior Planner for Real Estate and Planning within the Facilities, Fleet, and Parks Department. All right, so today's work session, Dr. Rupp's going to start. She's going to brief your board on our Medical Examiner's Office facility gap, or MEO as we call it, and associated risks to our current service delivery. And then she will turn it over to Brian, who's going to introduce possible near-term and long-term paths explored by the consultant, whose full report was included in your board packet, including key findings of that feasibility study, really focusing on the needs that were identified. And then we'll wrap up by getting your board feedback on what staff should refine, if anything, and bring back to your board for consideration. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Repp.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, commissioners. So my name is Kim Repp, and I have supervised our medical examiner's office here at the county since 2018. And to review the functions of what we do, we are responsible for investigating any death that is suspicious, suspicious looking, homicide, anything that's essentially not a natural death, or if it's a natural death at home, the person is unattended. We in Oregon, since 1960, use a state-based medical examiner system. What does that mean? That means that all the forensic pathologists, the people who take 7 years of training after medical school before they can do their job, they are all in Clackamas County. So every person that dies under medical examiner jurisdiction that needs an autopsy, has to be transported to Clackamas County. Whether you're in Eastern Oregon, Southern Oregon, here, it doesn't matter. Everything has to go to Clackamas County. And as you imagine, that might be a little challenging. So the medical examiner's office is the power is dictated by ORS 146.090, and that requires us to be functioning 24/7. That means it doesn't matter if the county's shut down, it doesn't matter if it's Christmas morning, it does not matter. We are required to report duty no matter what, just like law enforcement. So what's unique about the medical examiner system in Oregon is that the medical legal death investigators, those are the people who work at the county. Those are the people who go to the scenes. They're not physicians. They're not at the state office doing autopsies. They have to be appointed by our district attorney and our state medical examiner after the hiring process in Washington County. So we are functioning under the authority of the district attorney and of the state medical examiner. So every county in Oregon has their own set of death investigators at the county level, but everybody takes their decedents for autopsy to the state in Clackamas. So in our office right now, we have a chief and we have 6 medical legal death investigators and 1 program specialist. We are responsible for identifying the deceased, help determine the manner, cause of death, coordinate any external examination, connection with funeral home. Obviously, we're constantly with law enforcement anytime we're working. And the take-home point of what we do is we are the last people to provide justice for those who can no longer speak. So it's our job as death investigators to be independent completely, so we can investigate all types of death and bring justice to those who need it. As you may be aware, the population of Oregon is increasing every year, and with more births means more deaths. So we've had the same Clackamas County morgue for decades now, and it has been exhausted for capacity and pathologists. Yet every county still relies on taking our decedents to the state medical examiner's office. It was so bad in 2023, the state medical examiner's office said, you know what, we can't do all the autopsies we're supposed to be able to do. We just can't. We don't have enough pathologists. We don't have enough space. We can't do it. So they reduced the type of autopsies, the amount of cases we were allowed to bring in for review. Now, to get an autopsy, if you're curious, what automatically gets you an autopsy are only the following criteria. A drug overdose, age 45 and younger. A suspected natural death, age 55 and younger. Suspected natural means we don't have any medical history. The person hasn't been to the physician, or there's no information. Homicides, sudden unexplained infant death cases, or medically sensitive pediatric cases, like if we're thinking abuse or something like that. Motor vehicle crashes, there are no accidents. And any in custody deaths. So if they're in any sort of, whether they're being arrested or in the jail or whatever happens, any association there automatically gets an autopsy for that death. And we also take any person who has a retained projectile. We don't bury projectiles in Oregon. They're removed from the person before they are either buried or cremated or whatever the family wishes for that individual.
Is that like a bullet or?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Or a tip of knife, or like literally anything that's not a medical piece of equipment that was already in them.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yes. It's nowhere near what we would like to be.
Any medical equipment gets buried with the individual?
Yeah, so I just had my jaw broken in 4 places, and I had little metal plates in here. So they would not remove these. But if I had a projectile in me that was not naturally part of, not medically installed, then yes, we would remove it. So that's usually bullets, broken metal pieces. Sometimes in car crashes, things can snap off inside. It depends. But yeah, we always remove everything before the decedent is returned to the family.
So the state gives you less access, and you've had temporary access for cold storage and an exam area, but we need more permanent solutions, so that's where the study was launched.
Yes. So right now, we don't have any Washington County facilities.
So where do the autopsies get done?
So an autopsy is at the state medical examiner's office in Clackamas. So those bodies are transported to the state medical examiner's office, and they can hold anybody who's getting an autopsy.
Oh,
but everybody
afterwards,
else,
that's your county responsibility.
yeah. So
Got
getting
it.
them there and afterwards, and also
after
the
the
majority of cases, 81% of cases do not receive an autopsy. So those are people we have to transport and get to a funeral home. So the problem is, I don't have anywhere to store these decedents. So if I had a car crash right now, or plane crash, 4 people, I don't have anywhere to put the bodies. We don't have a county facility. The only thing that I have right now is a local funeral home has agreed to hold 1 table for us to do our external exams and our cold storage. We are completely relying on that for all of our medical examiner needs at this point.
What funeral home is that?
It's Springer and Sons. Yeah, they've been really great partners.
We had a consent agenda item.
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
So, I want to make sure I understand this list.
Yeah.
So I'm clear on, for those 100 minus 81%
Mhm.
that get an autopsy. Once the autopsy is done, you have to take control, but there's also this 81%. So I'm trying to get clear on what is the work, whether you may call it a death investigator, but I think from what we've been through with other facilities, we need to have some idea of the tasks.
Sure,
And
yeah.
maybe getting to that.
Yeah.
So is some of this all related to death investigations?
It is our required function for every single death.
Got it.
As
These
you,
are the things we're lacking, Chair.
Okay.
This dotted list is all the things we do not currently have.
So for the death investigations, you need to have facilities, and these are the kind of facilities you need for that. Because I don't want a PhD of what a death investigator does, but I do want to have an appreciation for the high level appreciation
Of course.
for the work that needs to be done and the kind of facilities and flexibility that you. Oh, you may or may not have been in. Brian, I think, was in the room when I said that I'm a little overwhelmed by this topic. So I got reassurance that you're not asking me to make a final deadline here, but I'm trying to make sure that I and we are thoughtful in the level of direction for today. And I know Ms. Angie will keep it straight and grounded.
Yeah, so maybe can we take a pause and do a grounding?
Yeah.
This is really the first time your board has had a deep dive into medical examiner services. If you may recall, I believe 2 budget cycles ago, we needed to add FTE to the medical examiner's office. One of the items I'd appreciate if Dr. Rep would touch on is just what our coverage or our staffing responsibility 24/7 needs to be, because to me that is part of a consideration for facility too, and proximity of facility as well. So I would suggest the board think about this as this is your first conversation, and we can determine after this also maybe even one-on-ones, because it does that. I am coming to this conversation appreciating this is just your first touch point with medical examiner services, because it is a service that is not typically seen by the community.
Yeah.
So picking that back up, Dr. Rupp, could you kind of explain, like, to the chair's point, like, just a quick example of, like, what would you be needing to do as an MDI?
absolutely.
Even for a case that doesn't need an autopsy.
Sure, absolutely, no problem. So what happens is a person discovers a person who has died. They call 911. 911 goes, it's usually EMS or fire, law enforcement sometimes first, it depends who gets there first. They check for a pulse or any life-saving measures. If they are not able to administer any life-saving measures, the person is considered deceased, and then they call us. When they talk to us on the phone, we get information like, is there paraphernalia at the scene? What do you see? Is there trauma? We interview law enforcement to see what kind of information they're detecting at this very early stage. Then after speaking to law enforcement, we will get all our gear, get in the truck, and we will drive to the scene. Under Oregon law, the second that the person is deceased, it is the jurisdiction of the medical examiner's office. It's no longer under law enforcement. So law enforcement gets the scene, but the actual decedent is the medical examiner's office. So we are responsible for going in, examining the body, and by that I mean we need to remove the clothes and photograph everything. Everything we do has to stand up in court, period. So it's got to be very methodical. There are a lot of policies and procedures. So essentially, after that, after we've done our examination of the individual and determined what we think is the manner and cause of death, we get on the phone with a state medical examiner. We're saying, hi, forensic pathologist. This is Kim at Washington County. This is a case I have. I run it by them. They say, bring him in for autopsy or don't bring him in for autopsy. If they want them for autopsy, they're transported. If they don't, then we work with the family, if they're there, to figure out which funeral home they would like to use. And then we can transport to that funeral home. Or if they don't know what funeral home, most people aren't expecting a death that day when we get there. It's usually the worst day of their life and they're in total panic. They might not have a funeral home picked out. So that's the case where we have to hold them for the families until they make up their mind on where they would like to go. So is that an acceptable?
Very
Thing.
helpful. I've read too many Patricia Cornwell.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So I got the basic steps. That helps a lot.
Great.
You need to read Patricia Cornwell.
I know.
Moving on.
So
What kind of information our chair
Who's a
has.
coroner?
happy to answer any questions as always.
Fiction.
So why are we here today? Why is this becoming urgent? Well, our state medical examiner's office, although they're trying to get a larger facility and trying to get more staffing, they remain as they are. Multnomah County and Clackamas County, as of June, will be out of the state medical examiner's office. Both those MEOs used to be inside the morgue in Clackamas. They're both out now. And there's one company that we use for transport our decedents. So it's less expensive for the county to pay a transport company to take the decedent to the state than it is to use staff to drive to the body to the state. It takes, 2.5 hours to do all that. So we use a private transport company. Unfortunately, that transport company did not make a profit in the 5 years of business, and they will be closing on June 30th. This removes all transportation for all 3 medical examiners' office in the metro area.
Was the transport company like a medical transport company?
Yes, biohazard specifically for decedents. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And that can't be accomplished through any of our contracts with AMR or?
No, they not with the deceased.
Okay.
Unfortunately, yeah, that would be
It's a
that
good
would be
question.
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. We deal with that for communicable disease a lot with our EMS, but not for, unfortunately, the decedents. So the problem is we're not going to get anything improved at the state medical examiner's office.
You have problems with storage and with transport.
Oh yeah, I'm just getting warmed up. It hurts.
I'm with you. I'm getting the message.
Okay.
First conversation.
Yes.
So
Really soon.
yes, thank you.
Got it. Message received.
So there
Did I get the message?
you did.
Oh,
yes.
yay.
I did want to.
Oh,
So there is one company left in the state of Oregon that does transport of decedents. And it's not clear if they're able to handle the entire workload of the Tri-County Metro Medical Examiner's Office. And as of this morning, they would not commit to any performance times. So that affects our law enforcement partners who we value very much because they don't get to leave the scene until the transport company comes. So right now we hold them to an hour. So our current transportation, the officers will be waiting or deputies will be waiting no longer than an hour. That is going to change dramatically if we can even get a contract with the one remaining business to do this.
Can I ask who pays for that, the transport?
We do.
Yes.
So it's somebody dies and it's our responsibility to transport the dead body to someplace.
If it's suspicious, if it falls under medical examiner jurisdiction. If you die at a hospital, no.
No, I'm just saying it doesn't. I thought Medicare or some other insurance policy would
Transport decedents?
Once you're dead, it's
No.
And
the
it's
insurance company's out.
medical coverage.
And there's no biohazard. That's a common misunderstanding. We don't clean up the scene. We investigate it. So the family has to hire a biohazard company on top of that to do the cleanup.
And Commissioner, this is in
even
state
if it's out
statute.
on the road?
Fire usually hoses down the road, but I mean, not always.
Is it, what did
I said it's in state statute that it's a county responsibility.
Holy tamales.
So,
We're learning things every day.
so this is why I'm getting
First learning.
a little uncomfortable, so to speak, in our current status. I feel like,
Oh, you had me at June 30th.
oh, right. So basically, I feel like the medical examiner's office, we're floating in the middle of the ocean, treading water, and the funeral home is giving us a life jacket. Okay, they're giving us a place to store. They're giving us a place for exams that's safe and respectful and dignified. However, if that's pulled away at any time, I got a big problem really quickly. So that's why we're here today to learn about the feasibility study and other professional options that have been evaluated for you to consider.
And there are options, so some good
Yeah.
news.
Yes.
Wait, I'm gonna write that down.
So in 2023, we reached out to facilities, our internal facilities team, to start brainstorming some ideas. I'll turn it over to Brian.
Sure. The board, just as a recap, the board received a memo in 2023 outlining the changes at the state level, uh, outlining the reduced service levels. And in 2014, we partnered with HHS. And I got to tell you, one of the great joys of my job is all the people I get to work with and learn about new things. This was not what I was expecting from 2025 bingo card. And, working with, these folks here.
Yeah, I was not
Like
a
a
state
courthouse.
trooper friend in some AOC convened meetings starting in 2023 and through those years.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. So in 2024, this was added to the capital improvement plan. Actually, the needs assessment itself was added to the CIP, and the work study or the work began in 2025 and took most of that year, coming up into the first part of 2026. And since that time, we've been really reviewing it ourselves and trying to understand implications, particularly as things have changed with interim arrangements rather for the short-term decedent storage issues. Thanks. So the consultant was tasked with helping the county answer a practical question, and that is, what does Washington County need to maintain reliable medical examiner services today? And how could demand evolve over time? We're not static in time. Our population continues to grow, caseload will continue to grow, and what facility strategies are operationally feasible. So the study documented current operations, workloads, staffing assumptions, facility gaps, long-range growth considerations. We also looked at options for potential new construction versus retrofit opportunities in facilities we already own, and then a range of costs related to those planning options. One important distinction throughout the report is that it separates our facility needs and readiness from operational activation. So in other words, the study evaluates what a building could eventually support over time, but that doesn't mean that the county is committing immediately to activating all future functions of some facility. So that distinction became very important as we evaluated what was appropriately scaled for our current and long-term needs. Okay, sure.
This is really great. I did scan through part of the report, but what I didn't get, and I didn't read the slides ahead of time, which I often do, so that's why I wanted you to know. So there's the facility, but there's also this transport problem. And from a contract standpoint, June 30th is like tomorrow. And so does the feasibility study cover transport?
No.
too? Okay, so I'm gonna hold myself tight and until we get through the presentation to ask more questions about, because I know you've worked on cold storage opportunities. Funeral homes have their own business to run and whatnot. I'm gonna learn more about that, but I'll need to get my brain refresh on transport later. Okay, that'll work for me. Thank you. I have a plan.
On this slide though, that says facilities partnership, I guess I read the report, parts of it, I looked at, if there's opportunity, big picture, to be partnering with the other counties, this seems like something that would be efficient to do that with, but maybe I'm jumping the gun or I don't know what, but and this is not the only need we have that I think fits in that category. I mean, there are things that I think could be strategically located that could benefit multiple counties, and this is just one of them. So I don't know if there's any nexus to that, but
Yes, unfortunately, when someone passes away and they go under the jurisdiction of the medical examiner's office, they have to stay within the geographical confines of that county where the ME has jurisdiction.
Interesting.
So we can't store in Multnomah County. We can't store in Clackamas County unless we are transferring chain of custody to the state medical examiner's office for an autopsy.
And whose rules is that?
It,
But the state can change it if they even thought they knew what they were doing. Okay.
I mean, I think there's an easy solution. There's just one small place where all three of the metro counties touch. It's in Lake Oswego, and I think it's going to need to be our new.
I'm like,
There's that spot. That's not a
like,
problem.
do you know how
I
big
know
that
the city
facility would
manager
have to
there.
be? Multnomah alone, it's gonna be.
Oh,
We're gonna get to that.
okay, great. Hang tight. We're
Yeah.
gonna learn more. Okay, we're ready.
Okay, we're going to share the slide, so I'm going to pass it off.
So our service may be impacted by these upcoming changes. We will have transport delays. So if we do not have a transport company, we will transport ourselves. We have a truck that could transport one person, and then that staff member is out of commission for the entire time they're transporting. We're not exactly staffed for that, so that could cause transport delays. Again, the loudest, I think, besides me, that you're going to hear from for the impact of this will be law enforcement, because they are the ones that will be having to wait because we're not getting there fast enough for transport. So in terms of autopsies, just to paint a little bit of a picture, in 2024, 19% of Washington County cases that we took jurisdiction of, which was 1,100 cases, in 2024, 140 of them were autopsied. So a forensic pathologist, the people who perform the autopsies, national best practice is that one pathologist does no more than 250 autopsies in a year with a maximum of 325. So if you look at 2034, we're going to need 2 forensic pathologists just for our workload. That's not including any of the other tri-counties. So right now, at 140 autopsies, our state medical examiner's office, the pathologists are doing over 350 in autopsies a year each, way, way beyond what the national recommendation is. So they're trying as hard as they can, but they are not staffed anywhere near to be able to handle the workload. So again, in 2024, we took jurisdiction of 1,100 decedents. 140 of those were autopsied. And yeah, I'll pass it over to Brian.
Thanks. So when we first commissioned this study, I really had no idea how large a facility like this might need to be and all the specialized spaces and equipment that it would require. So in light of the growth trends, both population and cases, we initially started looking at what a new build might look like. How could we meet that capacity or increase our capacity to meet that need over the 10, 20, and 30-year horizons? So we were looking at greenfield development in that case. But as you can see, those are pretty big dollar amounts, and that immediately raised concerns to us as staff because first of all, it's financially difficult. They also don't meet the immediate needs of the department right now. They have a much longer lead time to do that type of development. So when we were presented with this information, we pivoted a little bit with the consultant and asked for a more right-sized day one retrofit strategy. So we were looking for smaller upfront costs, lower barrier to entry, essentially. It buys time for us to more strategically plan for that growth as it comes up.
Before you move off
Sure.
from the slide, I had a question about, I appreciate the numbers of the present and then the future presented on the right side, top PowerPoint. I was wondering about, and I couldn't find this information in the report, but what was the numbers for 2020? that data?
Okay. So there were, so COVID, a death by COVID is considered a natural disease. And if they had medical history and or diagnosis of COVID, they would be required to be signed out by the primary care physician, and it would not become jurisdiction of the medical exam. We don't touch natural deaths, and disease is considered natural.
So you didn't use those statistics because of the pandemic, is that what I hear? Because there was a population growth as well.
Oh, we had more cases report to us. They just didn't have more autopsies at the state. So yes, if I reported the number of cases to us, instead of being 1,100 for 2024, it was probably 1,800 for 2023 or 2022. But again, because if they're natural, they're not going to go to the state for an autopsy unless something else was going on that was nefarious.
It just seems like 140 in 24 and 434 and 1,145. I mean, it seems to me those are exponentially going up. So is that because, well, even with your population aging, that doesn't qualify for you either because it's a natural death. So I don't, to me, those numbers are a little bit suspect.
Where's that demand change coming from?
So they're 10 years, and so it's taking, the consultant did this, and so it's taking our current proportion of cases that are autopsied, which is 19%, and applying that to the population increase that Washington County experiences over year by year and adjusting it for age. And they produced those estimates.
So is that using the PSU forecast?
I don't know. I think they just used census data. I don't know if they used PSU, but essentially they just took the proportions that we had now and applied it to a larger population denominator.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's 10 years. So think about how many people we add a year. And then,
Which has been declining. I think that's why you're seeing some consternation.
Well, and
not in
we're
Washington.
dealing with something that's in the immediate. So we're dealing with 140 and escalating, going up. So we got to deal with the immediate problem,
Yep.
which is 140. And then as we get our feet on the ground a little bit, we move towards what a 2034
Yeah.
looks like.
Yep.
So for today, I'm just saying, okay,
Solve
that's
the problem.
somebody spitballing stuff, so it may or may not be true. We're going to be dealing with 140 people.
At least that's last year. It's more this year. It goes up every.
I mean, the jump, I'm just going to say it more directly, the jump from 140 to 400 just based on population statistics or projected population increases, which if you took just that alone, you know, you're more than doubling it, almost tripling it in 10 years. And we can tell you that's not going to happen in the county. So if it's because there's way more people that are older that are then going to be subject to autopsy meeting the criteria, I guess we need to understand that too. But something about this doesn't sort of make an immediate intuitive sense to us.
And we can look at
Just to like at
methodology.
the
Yeah.
big picture.
Sure.
Well,
So maybe there's an explanation.
follow-up
Well, that is
question
a
and
follow-up, yeah.
information on the methodology and how that's calculated.
And where we're going, as a sneak peek, is we're really going to present you with an immediate need solution today. So all of these comments and questions are fantastic. And I think they really get at kind of that longer term planning. And for today, we'll be wrapping up with kind of more your direction on short term needs.
So then I wasn't going to ask this till the end, but it's kind of pertinent to our conversation is why is the transport company not profitable? Are we not? Is there a fixed amount?
I would look. Okay. All right.
reimbursable
Let's talk
or-
about this. So companies that deal with biohazard rarely make it. Like biohazard companies turn over every year. It's really hard. You know, the family's like, well, who do we talk to? And it's like, we don't do cleanup. Just Google and see who's left. So with there only being one service provider, even then, and they transported from Multnomah, Clackamas, and us, they still were not able to make a profit. They were charging us, I think, $250 to transport from anywhere in Washington County to the state for an autopsy, and that's very that's standard. That's not an obnoxious price at all. It's very, very reasonable. But they couldn't. Apparently, the owners said they had 5 years to make a profit, and if they didn't make a profit, they had to shut down. And we just found out that they didn't make
He
it.
needs a good accountant.
Yeah,
And that was,
250 is too cheap.
I thought so
Not
too.
making
And I'm like,
money, 250. Then you go 500. There's no legislative cap on this.
No.
You do what you have to do to make money. I mean,
Yeah.
That's private enterprise
Yeah.
rule 1. So anyway, it just seems funny to me that there's an opportunity here for some entrepreneur.
yes, there is.
I don't know what license,
You can convert your car.
education. I could.
There's a lot of training, biohazard training. And
Yeah, I would
obviously,
imagine there's
yeah.
a lot of upfront costs and things like that. Again, it's just, to me, there's opportunity here, and I'm surprised that
This isn't their own line of business though, right? I mean, they're in more the bigger picture biohazard cleanup business.
No, they actually
They were
don't do
only
cleaning.
doing this?
They were only, but they had all 3 counties. Like they solely had it.
it's not like they didn't have a market.
Yeah, and the other company that I'm talking about now, the one that's left, did the transport for funeral homes, not for government. So that's what we're left with. So they're going to get hit real hard with a lot of. I mean, the whole trade. We're all trying to figure out how do we fix this. So
and just to add, commissioners, this was information, as Dr. Epp stated, it was recent. So this actually came to us as when we'd already booked this presentation to prepare and show you the findings from the study. So this was kind of a last minute, like, oh, we need to address this.
Company didn't exactly, the contracts not deal with advance notification of shutdown?
well, our contract with them expires June 30th, and we went to renew it because it's time, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way.
Okay, next contract, we have to have at least a 6-month closure notice.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Holy, okay, got it.
I appreciated the comments about the census numbers, and when I first looked at it, I thought the same thing. It looks pretty large. You know, these numbers look pretty large, but they use the most recent census data available. So as things have changed in the last couple of years, that may have not have reflected what we've experienced lately. That said, I think that sort of bolsters our pivot to exploring our retrofit solutions and starting out with a smaller model up first. So really looking at a reduced scope to meet the immediate needs. And that really safeguards the existing services by providing what we've been talking about so far. A lot of this is recap, but secure decedent intake and release, cooler capacity, to meet operating needs, reliable access to a dedicated exam room. We have no county controlled exam room at present. Space for documentation and imaging support, public support areas when families come.
Does this 5,000 square feet you've got here proposed meet that criteria?
It does. We worked with the architect in conjunction with Crime Lab Design, who are specialists in this area, to really lay out the needs at 2 different locations, which we'll get into next. And as a day 1 operation, it does meet those needs.
So there's the transport of bodies and then the cooler capacity. Can you buy coolers off the market, so to speak, or are they all custom built?
That is an awesome question. Sorry.
It may be that manufacturing may have pre-ordered, like, all kinds of other equipment in the marketplace, order a year and a half in advance, but are you going to have to build in place or can you buy?
So we exhausted every possible cold storage option before we came to this. The state medical examiner's office has 2 semi trucks for mass fatalities. They do not use them because of rodent infestation.
Right. We've heard about that before.
Yeah.
I covered that in one-on-one briefings.
We can buy a standalone cooler, and we looked at that. We have nowhere to put the cooler. No building, like it has to go in something that has the plumbing for biohazard. So that was not cost efficient at all. It basically put us right back into the same thing. We've got to have somewhere to put it because you can't just we couldn't just put a cooler in this room and store here. We have to have 2 layers of security. Like it has to be so locked down.
A building that's off of Evergreen.
Which one?
There's USDA, Department of Ag building off of Evergreen. West of Cornelius Pass Road, before you get to Embry, on the
North side or south side?
south, what's that, west side.
You're giving the instructions
Across the
just like
street
my
from
wife
the
gives you. Okay, so I
Anyway.
get that.
Okay, it's just,
Because we don't want
that
any
special.
public visibility of transporting, like, yeah, it needs to be as private for site out of that.
I'd like to make a comment about that too. I think if we're going to be taking on the responsibility of transport as well, you mentioned we have a truck. I guess I have had a personal experience with an accident scene where somebody died, and there's a level of dignity and respect that has to be applied in that transport process as well, because
Absolutely.
frequently family are present, and
Oh, yeah.
Or just members of the public.
yeah, I just want to
Thank you, Frank.
put
Yes.
that piece. So
And our current transport company is absolutely outstanding, like completely respectful. We vet them so hard because
I
all
hope that
it
if we
takes.
do this, that my request is that we have that same level.
Oh, yeah, we always have. But after June 30th, we'll see.
That's an interesting job description, right?
Yes, okay.
Can I get a reminder? Cause you have this in other areas. For a 24/7 shift, how many people are needed? Is it 4?
It's a little unique
Yeah,
for medical.
it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to cover 24/7, I think you need, I forgot what the mathematical, it's like 5.73 people or something.
Okay.
So yeah, our bench depth is 1. So when that investigator is transporting,
Yeah.
everybody's got to wait.
Right.
Which is why we don't transport. We use another company so people don't have to wait.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I cut you off. And here I am touching you. Double apology.
That's okay. You can. I don't know. I'll come back to it. I know it was going to be. Again, we're just spitballing options, and we probably should wait for you to finish this. So why don't I do that, and then I'll give my
Yes, sir.
comment.
So continuing on to the retrofit solutions, we in facilities identified 2 potentially suitable sites for such an operation. So we evaluated Service Center East and the Blanton Campus Fire Station. Facilities doesn't have a lot of unused space. In fact, many of our different departments are pretty space constrained. We looked at things like access, central locations, land use, things of that nature, just to find reasonable places that might accommodate this need. So we looked at secure transport access. At these 2 sites, we looked at secure transport access, discrete circulation, mechanical feasibility was a big one, land use compatibility, sally port potential for privacy reasons, and long-term operational flexibility. Could they potentially meet the need of the future, for the future as the need grows? And both of these had some positives, but ultimately it ended up being Blanton that sort of came forward as the best case scenario for several reasons. In particular, privacy concerns with neighboring uses is a big one. The Sally Port became a really big feature with the fire station. There's huge roll-up doors for the fire trucks, which could be retrofitted into a private entry for that.
I have no idea what a Sally port is.
So when you back up, like it's a private entrance that you'd like back a truck into and unload directly from the truck under a enclosed area.
Jail, it's where you drive someone in custody into a secure area.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
then enclosed before they go in. Same concept.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I just didn't know. It was
Yeah,
how it-
that's what it,
Okay,
There's one in the old jail across the street as well for adults in custody.
yeah, okay.
As I mentioned previously, the ventilation constraints was one of the biggest drivers. The Plenum Heights at Service Center East are so low that it would take some really special accommodations to get that 24/7 ventilation system in there. And that was another huge advantage for in the evaluation of the Blanton Fire Station because of those super tall ceilings.
I have one last question.
Okay, thank you, Chair. That I found that very, that was one thing that surprised me, that Blanton, I not, well, actually both, I would say, but more so the Blanton campus fire station, because when I think about the medical examiner, I sort of think about commercial or accessibility to freeways and things like that, right? Like for transport purpose.
Yeah.
And this is a sort of a residential neighborhood. So it's a bit of a,
But it's the cheapest because it's got the double security already built in. Like a lot of the expensive stuff that we need because law enforcement was there, because fire is there, it's already built. So it just ended up being
also in the center of the county.
yeah.
Which piece of the property are you talking about?
So of the Blanton campus, there's the main administration building, which is on Blanton. It's not that. There is an actual fire station on the, is that 209th? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yes,
Uh,
fire station you access from 209.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Off of the way.
That's the part we used to lease to DFE.
Yes,
and
I just wanted to make sure we were all clear, that's all. So, but do we have any covenants on that fire station portion with the bond?
Uh,
Are we
Excellent
clear?
segue.
Thank you.
Okay.
You did read ahead.
Oh, I remember from
Yes.
our prior bond.
Yes. We've had this conversation, but yes, for other reasons.
We do currently have a TVF&R lease on the property, and that ends in June of 2027. We've already had conversations with Chief Weiss and TVF&R on this topic. We've alerted them that, hey, we're evaluating this property for another potential use. We know that you are in the permitting process for your new fire station on 185th. Please keep us informed as to the progress of that. So conversations are ongoing in that regard for Blanton Fire Station. Also, we've been in conversation with our county council as well on if this use does align with the bond use restrictions. And so far, it sounds as though this is perfectly aligned with that use. As Dr. Rep mentioned earlier, medical examiners are first responders. She describes them as being the last first responders, which I think is a really important distinction. So in terms of the bond requirements, the language speaks directly to use by first responders, and I think that aligns with other uses we've had there as well, such as AMR for emergency dispatch. So we also believe Blanton could solve their immediate needs within the space that's there. It has the bays that have the high ceiling height for the actual medical examination rooms, but it also has areas for support staff that could be retrofitted for office space and public lobby, those sorts of things as well. But in evaluating these from a short-term perspective, it also allows us to come back to you for strategic planning and decision making as we continue to evaluate the population growth look at the caseload numbers and also the financing that would need to be reviewed as the need increases as well. Yep.
Before we move on to
Sure.
another slide. So, I realized while you were going over slide 11 that I was having a little difficulty distinguishing slide 10 from slide 11. So I know there's the transportation problem. I'm going to set that aside for the moment. Given that TBF&R is building a new station and therefore won't be vacating it for over another year, possibly 18 plus months, I don't understand the proposal on slide 10. How do we function? I don't know if the state, the way you've been functioning thus far during calendar year 2026, I don't know if you continue to operate that way, transport aside for a little while longer, or if I need to be thinking some date like July 1st, that's this slide. So I'm confused.
Speak to current operations.
Yes. So current operations, we're hanging on by the seat of our pants.
Yep.
We are trying to execute the contract with the local funeral home, so we have that guaranteed. They're going to hold one exam table for us, and they have some storage. And if they're not fully using their storage, they said we could do that. But that's what we're working with right now.
Okay.
So can I say
Yes,
this
please.
maybe a different way? We are in a period of uncertainty and uncomfortableness with this service. From my seat, I have been in that feeling of uncertainty and uncomfortableness for probably about 9 months or so before we had that contract in place with the funeral home. I mean, so I continue to be in that uncomfortableness. We are bringing forward a proposal to continue to explore the Blanton to help get us out of a phase of uncomfortableness. But I just want to openly, there is no short-term fix to this, but we're getting to a point of solutions, and we needed to go through this thorough assessment. And guess what? The transport happened along the way. That was a surprise. And that's not our problem that we can solve today in this room. Staff will follow up, and I have full confidence in the staff team of potential problem solving or options. We don't know what they are yet, but we'll continue to work that through. So if you leave this conversation feeling a bit uncomfortable, and that there's not, I think that's fair too. So I don't know if that's helpful or not helpful.
I thank you for continuing to be uncomfortable. I haven't been necessarily uncomfortable because there's been a plan. But the message that I'm getting today is my word. It's not just uncomfortable. We're hanging on, just hanging on. So to me, since there's no certainty yet, there's a crisis. I'm going to hang on to that word for another minute, because from what I'm feeling today, not wanting to kick the can down the road to the next board, because I don't envy the situation I know they're already going to be in. There is a current lease with TBF&R. We have to tell them, you have to be out of there at the end of this lease. We can't extend it. The situation has changed. And therefore, for me, in this way I'm describing it right now, there's date certainty that as of July 1, 2027, county construction demolition happens so that the team knows kind of date certain that this situation will be changed. Because as a board member, we've been in this juncture before where we can only go so long telling employees, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better. Right? We've been doing that. So that's where I'm at the moment. So I would love to just feel uncomfortable, but right now I'm feeling in crisis and ready to take the bull by the horn, which I'm really good at, but I'm not going to.
And Chair, I am saying that uncomfortable to keep us all measured.
Yeah.
If that's fair. I mean, because honestly, if
Worry
I,
about the employees.
well,
feel.
yes, and
There's fiscal responsibility.
there is fiscal responsibility, and I could bring forward multiple other service areas with issues too. So that is why we need to be measured in this and thoughtful and sequential.
I mean, what I'm getting out of this whole discussion is we have a workable plan right now that is very tenuous
Yes.
and sort of we can't control our own destiny. What you're putting forward is a plan that, you know, sounds like by June of next year, we might be moving towards controlling more of our own destiny and being less reliant and less fragile of a system. And that's as fast as you think we can move. And I guess I don't even know if we can we really be constructing in July of next year? I don't know if that's practical, great, but I don't want to, you know, tell TVF&R they have to be out in June if we can't practically be acting at that point.
By that, it takes more than a year to build a fire station. So if
Yep.
they haven't started yet, then June 30, 27 is not feasible unless you're going to put them out on the street, which we can't do.
Well, I think this is a great segue actually to the next slide. And Brian can touch on, or actually, so yeah, 2 slides. There we go.
Sure. We've been bringing in this chart for a lot of our projects just to kind of remind ourselves of where we are and help people understand where we're at. It's not just for you, but for the general public as well. We really we've gone through defining the problem. We've in this phase 2, we're trying to find solutions to that problem. The transport issue was a more recent problem than what we were studying at this time. So that's one of the things that we could not include in this study because it was unknown. But what we're asking for this particular site is to, if you would approve or if you would approve of our interest in the site to study it more for this use. That would include refining our preliminary plans, programming, refining our cost estimates before we come back to you again, before we create a project. So I understand there's more immediate needs that we need to resolve. We have a good relationship with TVF&R. They're aware of our interest in the site. I believe Greg Wyman may have spoken with Chief Weiss about this in the past, that there's an urgent need for this. There may be opportunities to work creatively with them on that issue, whether that's moving, if they're able, moving their capacity, their fire capacity to the neighboring stations, things of that nature. We don't know yet. Those are things we need to explore.
Where are we at on this chart? Are we pre-1 or are we in 1, 2?
We are in 2, and we're asking to move into phase 3.
It just seems to me that I'm perfectly fine with approving the moving into phase 3, but it seems to me the most immediate problem is transport. So this is nice. We can work on this for the please for a second for the next year. But what would it take to go back to the current transport company and say, how do we make you profitable? Because we absolutely need a transport company and we don't have that. There's none of this conversation is transport. So we haven't solved the immediate problem of that.
And aren't the other 2 counties in the same position?
Yeah. So yeah, why can't we Why can't we make some sort of a proposal to this company
is
that is
lawful.
already doing it? Who would have implied something not lawful?
So we'll take that back to the team as one of the options.
Sorry.
I don't even know how you got there. But anyway, it just seems to me like we've got a company that's already in place. Make them profitable for a year at least.
The team will take that back as an option and we will follow up and schedule an update with your board specifically on transport, given the level of concern. We are not really, what I would ask for today, continue to bring your questions, but let's focus on the next steps on this facility. And get that direction, which is going into phase 2, 3. And I also want to just remind us all of the budget direction that you gave, the sheet where I said unfunded needs. There is no funding for this set aside.
Yep.
There is no funding in the proposed budget for this. So this is a problem that we not only have to figure out from design and construction, it's also a financial problem too. So I'm just putting that on the table and now adding the conversation of transport into that and what problem that is. So we can follow up at another board meeting with transport specifically.
So with regard to your next steps, plan, because this was a really great meeting for me to better understand the requirements of the medical examiner office. The for the community, the basic mechanics. You know, I wrote it down, but there's a flow chart begging. Because we need to start being involved with educating city councils, mayors, community members, because this is a hidden aspect of county government. And we have to educate our legislators too. I've lived here for 36 years, and it's only because of being a county commissioner and learning through COVID and beyond about such responsibilities. And that's going to have to happen.
I think the Blanton plan makes a lot of sense for the reasons you guys have described. We'll have to figure out the funding part, I assume,
Yep.
as it gets scoped.
Correct.
The cost part will start to become more clear, and then there will be, oh, sorry. So I want to say that certainly the transport thing's got to get worked out. That's an operational issue. There may be lots of ideas and opportunities with.
I'm really comfortable with moving from 2 to 3. And I appreciate the background information. I also want to state that I have confidence in our facilities management group as a whole. We have faced other emergency situations, maybe a little different in nature, whether it's the HVAC system at the jail or whatever it might be. And I trust that our group comes forward with the best options available to us. So I know that I'm not the facilities expert in relationship to Blanton East or whatever it might be. You are. And that's what I will depend on. I do support the concept of a communication plan as we move forward, especially with all of our partners here. And I understand the separate nature of the transport issue. That is separate from the constraints that we need to be addressing here. So thank you. Thank you for this.
I want to hear from the new person at the table.
Good afternoon, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Dr. Marie Bowman Davis. I'm the Public Health Division Manager. I joined the table today just to reassure your board and the public that in absence of a contract for transport, as Dr. Rep shared earlier, our team, our staff does the transport. Washington County will not be without service. So I just wanted to reassure your board and the public
It
that
may be
we
slow.
continue
Thank you.
to offer service,
Not gonna be the same.
as Dr. Rep has shared. And so, thank you.
Don't you have to have a special vehicle to do this?
We have the vehicle. We have transported before, and we can transport again. And as an interim solution, we will remain compliant. We will ensure Washington County is compliant with our obligations, as Dr. Rep outlined earlier.
Thank you for reinforcing that.
I can weigh in. One of the things you said was how slow like how it slows down law enforcement because of the transport issue. And I can tell you that there's been a recent death in the community that I attended, and it took all day until I think early nighttime to be picked up, and the person passed away early morning. So I can testify to the truthness of that. If the private industry takes that long, I can't imagine the stretch of a government who are on a string budget. So that's the point I was trying to relay, that I seen it firsthand. The challenge that you brought to life. You know, I read the feasibility report, and I will be honest with you that it was a big jump for me to get to Blanton. Not that I don't, I appreciate the level of work that went into the report and the math that you shared. But as big as our county and knowing the facility index that we have, that report, I didn't see due diligence on like laying out the number of facilities that are optionable, different scenarios of multiple sites, that it was, and then I didn't also see an explanation of the residential part, because that will be, and I also was hoping more of this discussion around the community engagement side of it, because there's a lot happening on 209th. We're about to place pod villages. So I think we refer, they're different areas, but it's a heavily residential area, but then heavy activity around the county happening. So for me, that was the part that I couldn't, I couldn't get to Blanton be the recommendation that I put forth. I would have liked to see. So with that, I would like to see different options of multiple options to sort of do our due diligence and say, okay, here's why this is the best option. You know, is it the easiest option right in front of us, or is it the right, you know, what are the other options that we're weeding out, so that the community knows that, you know, that's
Besides
board.
Service Center East, were there other seriously viable options?
Facilities inspected every county building we own. They spent weeks and weeks and weeks looking for properties that they could buy that had the proper zoning. I mean, months and months and months of work went into that before we even got this.
Back up for a second. This isn't a residential area.
Yes, it is.
Across the street from Blanton.
And right behind it, and to the side. Have you been there?
Yes, I've been there. Will
Yeah.
you
Too.
please let me finish?
I'm just
Please
correcting your terminology.
No, this is not, this site that it's on is not a residential site. There is residential to the south on Blanton, across the street from Blanton. It's not the fire admin building. It's over here on 209, which is a major collector, which is off of a principal artery. There is South Hillsborough over here that is separated from an arterial, which is 209. So it's not a residential street. We're not talking about putting or taking a fire station that's in the middle of a residential community. We've got an Intel campus over here, going over here, a pump station for water. I can't remember if it's ADWD or JWC. So there is industrial use all along here. So to say this is all residential, that's why I want, in follow-up, we're going to need a good map. And I don't mean a site map, I mean the larger context. Because I'm not satisfied with hearing disinformation from this discussion.
This is a
today.
pretty quiet activity.
Yes.
What's Blanton?
The dead aren't very loud.
Institutional,
What's the zone?
Institutional.
zone institutional, and on the corner of Blanton and 209th is a PGE site, electrical transfer station facility. To the north on 209th is some industrial uses, no residential there, and then to the backside is the Blanton Administration Building.
Yep, I've been traveling
And
this
then further
area
east is
actively for
Intel.
36 years.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Administration is the disposal company.
Yeah.
It's waste management.
Yes. So,
I guess my question to that would be, your point, Jason, that you just made. This is a business that we don't come in, sirens blaring and lights on. We don't make a bunch of noise. We don't create a bunch of odor. This is just like, well, better
well,
not.
that's why there's the
Ventilation.
special
Well, that's what I'm saying. There, we're gonna retrofit it
We've
to
been through
facilitate that. But with any rate, this particular business could function without anyone ever knowing what is there.
That's the goal.
Okay, so, and we're not gonna put a big sign up out in front telling everybody what it is. So I'm not concerned about the residential or about the community, other than we're just telling the community we're taking care of what was state mandated to us.
It's also a community service. I just don't want to lose track of that.
Yeah.
Right.
And if we, and certainly
It's
we
gonna be
expect to
less
do it
noise
right.
than the fire station was and the fire training facility.
So, long answer to that, but yes, I'm in support of moving ahead. But I think the largest area you have is TVFNR vacating by June 3rd, 27.
Or as soon as we can reasonably act on our.
So, thank you very much for that clarification, Dr. Bowman. So, as I talked about the communication plan earlier, I'm not talking about countywide in terms of what we're planning yet, because we don't have those plans yet. I am talking about, as I said before, the service of the county. And that's where we need to get working on. I am in agreement with the majority of what I've heard from the commission about moving to phase 3. I do appreciate, Ms. Angie, how you've gotten me back to the measured, tenuous, workable plan. I was in this meeting quite panicked about where we are, because I'm the kind of person, I'm like a race horse. And sometimes I need that jockey to hold me back till I finish the race well, as opposed to just wearing myself out before the finish line. And I recognize that there's a lot of stress and strain on this team, just as there are on other parts of the organization. But I hear you being very judicious about how you're going about this, so that we are meeting the immediate needs, the shorter term needs, and the longer term needs. And that's what we, as a governing board, need to do. You've raised the appropriate flags at the appropriate times to let us know where we've been, because with your tenure, and 3 of us know this very well, having inherited what, in my words, felt like a very decrepit county, and getting us to the, I'm not going to remember the phrase, the comprehensively managed facilities. Yeah, managed care, there you go. And we're working towards that. And I look forward to the next board and beyond being able to continue on that continuous improvement. So you've got a majority of us that are very comfortable with proceeding to phase 3, and we continue to trust in your expertise and think that good work has been done on this assessment, and we want to keep going.
For now.
We're moving on to phase 3. So that's the next.
So how about this? I think we need a resolution to memorialize that this board has signaled comfort with your analysis for, as you've gone over here with the exploring the retrofit solution and moving forward with phase 3 on the Blanton Fire Station.
Which could be rescinded if a new board decided to.
You can try selling that.
I'm not saying I'm gonna try. I'm just saying that's the options.
So we will move forward with putting an item on board consent agenda for action. Staff will move forward.
I will be removing it, so it might be best to put it in an action item so that individuals vote on it rather than the consent agenda.
That's fine.
Okay,
Just
that's
in ahead.
so we're upon board action, we will move forward into phase 3 for Blanton. And then as we move forward, and I'll work with staff in the creation of that resolution to determine if we can also highlight what the next touch points
Could the other 3 members weigh in on the resolution before it gets into moves on to an action item? Jerry, Pam, and Jake.
So staff will prepare the resolution in order, just as the board has opportunity in the board agenda check-in. Board members can make any comments or changes during that.
But best practice here is, the culture here is, you get a thumbs up from 3 members for you to do work, right?
I think they already have a thumbs up from 4.
Or we have a
No, the resolution, I'm saying.
That's
So-
memorializing the same
This-
thing.
That's all the resolution does, is memorialize our direction for the work.
I just look, just for cultural purposes
with
of
that.
the best
I'm good
practices.
with-
I'm
I'm
good
good
Thumbs
with
up.
that.
Fine. Good.
Okay. So once again, preparing the R&L, we will do that relatively quickly. On that, I will also work with staff to see if we can identify when the next touch points. That R&L is only going to be focused on the building, the facility portion. It will not be focused on transport. Staff will separately work on the best next step to follow up with your board, given the concerns on transport. So more to come on that after Marnie and I meet with the team.
Great. So commissioners, thank you very much.
Thank you,
board. We appreciate it. We usually take a break somewhere after 2:30. We have the fee schedule to go through, and this will be the place to ask any and all questions on your fee schedule before we have to move on it in a business meeting, and then we have the quarterly management report. Would you like to take a break now or after one of those two?
Break, please.
Okay, so we'll reconvene at 2:30. Thank you.
All right. Welcome back, commissioners.
Thank you. We are back in work session after a break, and we are picking up with our proposed fiscal year 26-27 Washington County fee schedule. Mr. Steyer, take it away.
Good afternoon. I'm John Steyer. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the record. This afternoon, I'm talking about the fee schedule for fiscal year 26-27. Normally we have with me our budget analysts who've done all the great work on this schedule, working with the staff.
Normally we have what?
Chris Weber, who is our budget analyst.
Thank you. I'm
who
sorry.
has done all the great work putting this together. He was not able to be here today, so I'm gonna do my best to walk through the fee schedule, the changes this year, and some of the things that are happening.
We've I got questions for you.
That information.
No, it's exciting.
He might answer you.
Fine. So we're gonna just do the overview of the process, highlight the changes, and then the two policy questions that we have. This is our process. Each year we follow the same countywide schedule. In November, finance distributes workbooks to departments and gives training. Departments review their fees November through January, including a meeting with county council as needed for certain fees. All proposed updates and supporting documentations are due by January 30th, which helps us make sure that gets aligned into the budget. And then we compile and analyze those changes and bring the full proposed fee schedule to you by May and adopt the plan for June 16th along with our budget process. The idea is to be compliant, have transparency in what we do, and also enough time for departments to complete the meaningful review of the fees. Departments are required to review at least 20% of their fees each year and complete a review template that we provide for any fee increasing more than the WCPI, the CPI, Consumer Price Index, inflation factors, which was 3% at the time of our training this year. Departments also compare fees with other adjacent counties, so Multnomah and Clackamas County, to help make sure we're aligned regionally. And this year we tried to work to improve our analysis of requirements, adding columns in our workbook as to whether or not each fee is full cost recovery or partial, why the fee is partial cost recovery, for example, if it's capped by a statute, or cost recovery would create affordability barriers of the service that has a public benefit or component rationale that departments might have for having less than full cost recovery. Also identify when was last reviewed and estimated revenue for the coming year. So we hope to continue to improve this data collection analysis as we go along to help us all make informed decisions. So for total number of fees, there are 1,290 fees, individual lines, and these are actual rows in the fee schedule. Last year we had 1,318, so it's relatively flat, based up or down on the number of fees that we have. But about 50% of the fees are changing in some way this year. That includes increases, decreases, new fees, removals, and some wording updates. So most of the fee activity comes from land use and transportation and public health, which together accounts for roughly 2/3 of all individual fees. These programs are large, heavily regulated, and have many specialized services, so they naturally have complex fee structures. So on to what's changed in last year. In the packet, there was a summary of some specific line items. I'll walk through many of those in the presentation today. There are 656 line changes, so 50% of all fees. Of the 633 fee increases, most are due to inflationary factors. There are three fee decreases. One is for private case management. It's calculated to be an aging case management fee formula, and it meets cost recovery. One is related to Ordinance 878, which deals with the public health strategy, helping to educate on inspect and enforce Ordinance 878. And then there's one for pools and spas, late license renewal fee that was decreased. For 18, it had wording changes. Examples of that might be audiovisual tape duplication. Previously, I had audio, didn't have video. individual notice of land ordinance hearing, corrected formatting to make sure the name is more clear. Those happen in wording changes. There were 2 fee lines that changed structure. One was in parks, which removed a disc golf tournament fee and included as part of a non-admission community organization fee. And then in facilities, electronic charging to kilowatt hour was changed from a previous rate of 0.14 to a kilowatt hour, which is more in line with industry standards. And then we have 23 new fees added, 11 of those for West Side Commons, things like wingspan, lawn space, inventory equipment rental, copper chairs, tables, audiovisual items. We also had those in assessment and taxation, an appraisal, industrial property fee, a late filing fee, which is required by statute, was added. And then justice court, the forcible entry detainer fee, trial fee, $75, and a notice of suspension fee, which is added to traffic violations when a driver's license is suspended due to failure to appear. This is not new, but the fee schedule is put on the fee schedule now for transparency. And there were over 30 fees that were removed. Either services are obsolete or they merged into others or no longer offered. But the vast majority of fees increasing reflect cost recovery or inflationary adjustments. Fee decreases reflect updated staffing or program information. And then total fees generate about $46.7 million for the county. And that's total revenue. That's about 2% of our total revenue sources. As far as the general fund, of that revenue, about 4.6 million goes in general fund, so about 10% of that is general fund, and the other is special funds. Move into department highlights. Start with assessment and taxation. So that there's an increase to the marriage license fee because of a legislative change in Senate Bill 97A. It allows additional fee to marriage licenses. The legislature allows additional $25 to support conciliation programs. And you'll see this in our budget proposal this week as we talk about the programs. There were several assessment and taxation fees also increased to maintain full cost recovery. For example, imaging, project labor, custom reporting, and manufactured structured tax certifications. The rate increases for inflation. These include programs like recording research fee, cartography services, special assessment bill tax roll, or calculations for estimates of deferred taxes. Under county council, we adjusted hourly rates slightly to reflect the fully loaded staffing costs. And elections has no fee changes this year.
John, can I ask you a favor?
Yes.
When you're going through this, I appreciate what you said about the 11 new that are from the wingspan.
Yes.
Out of the 24 new fees, could you point out the other 11 as you go through? When I was doing my own homework, I couldn't figure it out.
Okay, as far as the numbers, new ones?
Like which ones are new? Just call it out if they're on this slide.
Well, there's 12 in assessment and taxation.
That's 12 increases.
I can pull together the list.
That
Highlight some that's on or anything that's new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many of them, like the 11 that are in West Side Commons.
I saw that.
Fine on
Yeah,
fees.
that was called out. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
The other ones I couldn't figure out. And
So are you going to start back on general government?
What's the next one? So we were just on assessment and taxation, county capital and elections. And moving on to animal services. Animal services does not propose any new changes because their fees were updated last year. The disability, aging, and veteran services adjust to counseling and case management fees based on updated hourly staff costs. One increases and one decreases. Emergency medical has a mix of consumer price index based increases and full cost recovery adjustments. including for ambulance and wheelchair transport licensing, replacement licenses, and training classes. Of note, the medical direction fee listed here has never been charged, and it's only in place as a temporary measure in the event that a fire district loses its medical director and needs to leverage the county's contract.
What is the license for? Is it for emergency medical services?
Yes.
For AMR, for example, or in,
Are you asking about the medical direction fee?
no, I'm asking,
Which,
no, I was asking about the license fee. Right above it. Replacement license fee increases. And license amendment fee.
Per vehicle, I believe.
Is it per vehicle?
I think so. I would have to look at the list. Yes. Right on to public health.
Three new fees.
So public health has the largest set of updates. About 70% of fees change. Many of these are environmental health fees tied to restaurant inspections, food service operations, pool and tourist facilities, and subsurface sewage permits. Several areas see across the board increases, 7% for restaurants, 5% for food service operations in schools and child care facilities, 9% for pool, tourist facilities, and 12% for septic related permits. All are based on full cost recovery. Public health also adds 3 compliance recovery fees: annual report evaluation violation, alternative system inspection violation, and septic work without permits. And these are capped by the state. The tobacco retail license fee is removed as it's no longer needed. And there was one decrease, and that's the cost for public health strategy ordinance 878. Services is reduced after recalculating labor and supply cost of staff time and supplies to educate, provide inspections, and enforce the ordinance.
Who's paying that fee?
I think this goes down to retailers when they go and do inspections.
They can still sell tobacco products. They just can't sell flavored tobacco products.
Right. Land use and transportation is our largest fee supported area, and they continue their multi-year approach aimed at maintaining full cost recovery and avoiding the large one-time increases that we implemented in 23-24. This year, most building and current planning fees increased by 3%. That reflects changes in staffing, materials and services, fleet cost, and indirect program cost. There were 565 fees, with changes to approximately 65% of the fees. There are no fee changes proposed by community transportation planning, community county surveyor, road fund engineering, or the road fund operations. The building services development review current planning, most fees increase for full cost recovery to maintain minimal staffing needed to meet service level timelines and avoid large catch-up fees increased for fee supported programs. So this 3% increase is following the 50% one-time catch-up on most of the fees in 23-24. If you recall, there was a resolution in order to implement an annual fee indexing structure based on ongoing cost increases. So many of the fees increased 8.5% in 24-25, and then another 8.5% in 25-26. Right, for development review, current planning. There are 216 fees. Most had an increase of 3%. Current planning adds 4 new fees for application types that weren't previously captured, like agricultural dwelling type 1 and marginal lands application and final approvals for special use applications. They also removed a small number of obsolete fees tied to transportation reports and an agricultural dwelling final approval step that no longer exists. For building services, there are 40 fees, most increase at 3%. Examples of these fees are building permit fees, hourly fees for electrical, plumbing, and mechanical, temporary certificate of occupation, demolition permit, plumbing permits, residential fire suppression system permits. I think overall the theme for LUT is stability. It's just keeping up with cost while holding your direction to maintain predictable and incremental adjustments in fees. On the West Side Commons, most of the fees increase between 5 and 8%, depending on the type of space or equipment. These adjustments reflect increases in personnel cost, utilities, and cost allocation plan, especially for the Wingspan facility. In addition to increases, several fee structures are adjusted. Cloverleaf removes hourly rentals. Friendship Square simplifies its rental tiers into a single rate. Other space fees increase, and there's a new rental option for the Wingspan lawn. Parking lots, RV parking increases 5%, and several equipment items and audiovisual systems are now charged separately instead of being bundled.
The Wingspan lawn, it's the fairgrounds lawn.
Actually, the Wingspan lawn is, I believe, the part right behind the building. There's a section, there's a strip in there that they use for vendors and exhibits and stuff like that, I think. It's
Tied to the Wingspan.
yeah, it's tied to the Wingspan.
Tied to
and then there's-
Wingspan.
Where's it relative to the building? Because here's the parking lot. The two,
Okay,
here's the two streets. from
it's
the
right
building.
here.
Oh,
on that
okay.
side.
Okay, thank you. Not, that's,
Yeah.
makes sense to me. Yeah, perfect sense.
Lastly, on the West Side Commons, the water connection fee. They haven't been charging for this, but there are other venues that do, and so cost is similar to what another venue or rental companies would charge. And then noted some fees are kept below full cost recovery to maintain competitive rates with other venues. For Washington County Cooperative Library Services proposed.
Can you, I'm sorry, John, I was looking at something else. Can you go back to the Wingspan? What's our comparative there? Because,
Which part?
well, on just our overall pricing, because what I generally hear is Wingspan is expensive. And so now we're raising fees, and some of them are room charges that no longer have AV, and then there's a water connection in there, and there's just some other things. Who are we comparing ourselves to?
That's a great question. I'll have to get
So,
back with.
yeah, I was going to be so impressed if John knew that, but I didn't expect him to know that.
I know they are looking at trying to be competitive, right?
So we'll follow up with that question as a follow-up. And just a reminder for the board and members of the public who may be viewing this, this is an enterprise fund. We are unlike other small market convention centers that have an supporting another source of taxes supporting the operations. And so in some cases, our fees are going to be higher because we don't have that other offset, but we'll provide you that follow-up, who our comparators are, and the work that goes into developing the fees.
And I'm sure over time, as we work more closely with Explore Tualatin Valley on things, we're probably going to get back about that.
So we have consistently received feedback. I will say, and I don't want to say, I will call it qualitative feedback than quantitative because it hasn't been through surveys, but feedback from nonprofits wanting to have free or reduced rent at the facility, concerns from some entities wanting a full, I'll call it carrying cost, for example, of renting the trade show hall, which it is customary for venues to have separate costs for AV, et cetera. So there's been partial there's partially education on how these facilities run and the types of charges, partial desire to just have free charge too, because what happens many times is when someone does want a free charge or no cost, they're contacting commissioners or myself to have those fees waived, which we don't waive fees even for county events.
And that
And then also,
convinces them when I say we pay.
correct.
Full rate.
Facility.
Yes, without any discount.
Right.
So just if anyone listening, the county, any county department pays full rate. And then there is that market comparison. So I know we're scheduled to come back with an update on Wingspan later this year. And so we'll make sure to include this, but in the meantime, we'll provide a written update just on the comparable.
Speaking of that, one of the things I think recalling some information in my head about the Wingspan. Did we ever expanded the option for vendor food for community-based like the community who are renting the space? Because I think the push has been like to push community like based organizations and businesses out there to utilize it. But the feedback has been like it's hard to get culturally specific vendors into it. Did we ever address that option?
We have culturally specific food vendors that are pre-approved in the space. And I have not heard that concern now in several years.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you for that question. For the libraries, propose one change, raising the non-resident library card fee from $140 to $195. This fee hasn't changed in 10 years, and its increase aligns it with the increase in the levy revenue and the fees that the neighboring library systems. It also helps ensure non-residents contribute proportionally to the cost of service they receive. The current fee is $140. Last time it was increased was 10 years ago. The levy rate increased from 17 to 22 cents at that time. Our partner libraries issue non-resident cards and collect the associated fees.
This is a one-time fee or a
Annual fee.
annual fee?
Yes. There are 80 cards that are issued in 24-25. Not a big amount. There are people that use the service. For neighboring library systems, Multnomah County charges $180 and Clackamas charges $95. So there's some comparison there. On to parks. So parking fees at Hag Lake increased for the first time since 2016. $7 to $10 a day for day use and comparable increases for seniors, veterans, and season passes. Annual parking passes increased $5. And reservable area fees, picnic area rental fees also increased $15. Cover picnic areas reservations increased $25. I mentioned before, the disc golf tournament fee is being consolidated into existing special use fee structure, which simplifies the schedule and makes it easier to administer. These adjustments support Park's long-term financial goals. Since the Park has transitioned into an enterprise fund, the goal is to build an adequate fund balance, plus set aside funds for the launch of the upcoming campground at Hag Lake. And increasing parking fees generates revenues to help achieve both of those goals. Metzger Park is revising its weekend rental structure. For the weekend, Friday through Sunday, half-day rental option wasn't cost-effective and is recommended to be removed. There's now an 8-hour minimum rental for weekends, a $400 full day for the LID residents, and $600 for non-LID residents. The facility is rentable by the hour Monday through Thursday for $35 per 2-hour minimum. And then under facilities, there are 18 fees primarily consistent of Washington County grounds use fees. There were some wording changes. For example, the general conference use fee clarifies external user fee responsibilities for room arrangements, cleaning and trash disposal, and a state court attorney access request fee denoting applications of renewal by attorneys every 3 years.
I have a question.
Yes.
So in Metzger Park, what time, staff, investment is required for the rental option facility? It would seem to me like they file an application, we want to use it for this day, for this purpose. We don't have to go out there and set anything up. They do it, right?
Yeah.
Yep, we have to let them in
We let them in,
and check
it's
it out
open,
afterwards.
Right.
do we?
The building,
Mhm.
building is not open.
Okay. I guess I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
There's a structure.
There's a
Right.
hall,
It's the hall. It's the building that's there.
a white
Right.
hall.
Right.
I feel like we are adding insult to injury there when we have just doubled their fees. And now we're increasing the fee to use a facility that we've just doubled their fees to use. I don't know, it just seems like we're piling on a bit there.
So I can appreciate that. I would maybe look at it as an inverse way. Those residents within the LID that are using that hall are paying for the use of that hall, reducing the assessment burden on the other residents, the LID or taxpayers within the LID who choose not to use that hall and pay their assessment. So those who are taking a higher use of the park are paying an additional fee. And this is a way to capture non-resident fees.
Well, if they're not member of the LID, can they use the facility?
Yeah,
It costs more.
400
it costs more, so they're paying the increased rate,
Okay.
which benefits
Sorry.
the taxpayers within the LID.
Yeah, I can understand that one.
I don't think it's the time for the conversation, but I think longer term, we gotta figure something more out on Metzger Park.
I would agree with you.
Not the moment.
Agreed.
So I'm clear, half day is removed. Right?
Yes,
It's the
correct.
only option is
Just-
$400
On the weekends only.
weekend, yeah, Friday to Sunday.
Include holidays.
Yeah, good question.
Well, I'd include holidays. Holidays are Mondays often.
We can check. It might just be a calendar day, but I will check on holidays. For public safety and justice, the sheriff's office increases its pass-through foreclosure deposit and adjusts hourly uniform security delivery rates based on costs. The rest of their changes are wording updates. The DA's office increases in several discovery fees to keep pace with staffing costs. They also remove a fee tied to child support because that function has moved back to the state. And then juvenile conciliation removes 2 outdated fees that are no longer used pertaining to custody, parenting, time study.
That link, the juvenile one, is that linked to the increase in the marriage? Like, am I tracking that?
I think
Right,
this is a separate fee that was retired by statute.
But is it because we're now, no, unrelated?
I don't think.
No, it's unrelated.
So can I have a question on that?
Yes.
Did we consider what is it, security alarm permit fee or something that I pay every year? Because
Those do get looked at. I don't know if they get looked at this year or last year.
I don't recall it
Increases,
increasing, and
right.
I've paid the same thing, same permit
Right.
for a long time. I don't remember
Yeah.
ever increasing before I ever started. I don't even know what it is right now. But it seems kind of interesting that we wouldn't.
The county fee,
Yes.
Bar permit fee.
not a
Right.
city fee?
No, it's
No,
county fee,
county fee.
because I have a permit
Yeah.
and presumably they respond if I don't shut the alarm off.
Has to do with your evaluation. Oh, no, that's.
Yeah, so there's no change in that this year.
All right.
John, what is the uniform security and delivery increases?
So uniform security, if sheriff's office of a contract to do uniform security somewhere, that's a fee that they charge to get full cost recovery for the hourly cost plus overhead of the deputies going out there to do that,
Like the hop saying, we want 4 deputies at the game.
or the fair.
And that's what thank you.
Yeah. Mhm.
That was very helpful.
Just one example
Like,
I
what
can
is-
think of that would happen.
Okay. Like, is it Nike?
Well, that's a contract based.
It's a contract.
Yeah. Yeah. So this would be a separate events that if cities contract for that service or.
Limited time duration.
Right.
That's pretty cheap, right? Pretty cheap.
Depends on if you're paying it.
Well, it depends on how many deputies you have out there too. So it's
If you're having an
Right.
event that you need
Right.
security,
Yeah.
it's a good
based on the number of bodies.
for peace of mind.
For justice court, we adjust 2 fees to align with the statute and cost recovery. The wedding facility fee increases significantly. It's now aligned with state requirements and reflects actual staff time. So going from $15 to $117. We have about 35 of those per year. The vehicle compliance fee increases to reflect material and staff costs. And there's
That's a big jump, 15 to 117.
Yes.
So I think
Where is this facility?
That's the justice court.
So it's just so they're going to court to get married.
justice court to get married.
$15 sounds ridiculous.
This day and age.
Yeah.
Gotta have witnesses.
Right, all of that.
Yeah.
so. What's the justification for $117 dollars?
It aligns with the state requirements, the state fee.
And as seen there, aligning it to full cost recovery.
And that's-
So looking at what the cost to allow access.
There are 2 new state cap fees that are added to capture eviction, forcible entry, and detainer trial costs, and notice of suspension fees. So previously, the court had no need to include it on the schedule because the forcible entry detainer filings were very few and cases did not get to the point where the trial was required. However, now there is an anticipation of an increase in these cases, and some may require to go to trial. So that we feel the need to add this fee to the schedule. Likewise, with the notice of suspense fee, is a fee added to traffic violations when the driver's license is suspended due to a failure to appear in court and failure to resolve their citation. This is not a new fee to the court, but a new fee to the schedule to make sure it's transparent. Community corrections has no changes. Things like custodial home supervision per day and electronic monitoring services are some of the fees that they have. The library has no changes. Some of their fees include use of the program Pacer or federal e-file database, invoice processing fees, and also replacement of lost materials.
So, board members, this is the opportunity for you to ask any and all of your questions, make your comments, share any concerns about the fee schedule, and to express if you're ready to move forward.
Made my comments and asked my questions while we worked through this, and I don't have further ones. I'm ready to move forward.
I have a question. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
On slide 9, it's the public health slide. The one that jumped out at me was the TB screening tests and going, I recognize this is full cost recovery, but it goes from 9% to 47%. And what is the target audience for those TB screenings? And I'm curious about the impact if they aren't opting in for the TB screening because of the cost increase. I see Marnie ready to jump.
If you have that, it would be great.
So
I'll follow up and verify, but if it's related to a communicable disease case, then their medical insurance is going to cover it, or communicable disease isn't going to charge. Like if it's related to a case,
What are these used?
for case finding, but some people get it for travel or for other reasons. So, but I will follow up with Marie and double check that I'm giving you accurate information and get back to the full board with the,
Are they even doing them for
Yeah.
pre-employment?
could be yes, so it's more of a requested service, and I would guess that it's pretty uncommon for us to be the ones doing it, but we're not going to deny somebody a TB test when it's in relation to a communicable disease investigation or
Okay, that was
follow
my
up.
concern.
And typically Medicaid will cover that or other insurance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the other question I had was on slide 8, under community development, single family homeownership rehab loan payoff fee increases 14% for full cost of recovery. And that is, can you give me an example of what that is?
What slide are you on?
8. Under,
Oh, under community development.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember.
Is that part of,
I asked
that part
Shannon
of
about this, and my mind is blank
Okay.
right now, so I'll get back with you.
don't think this is related to CDBG, but
No, it's not CDBG, but it is. I believe it's
is it
yeah,
home, do you think? Home money?
home
program.
Yes, I believe it's home program, but let me get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, my mind is blank.
Okay.
I remember asking that.
Phone a friend.
Good questions.
And the slide before that, the cost of marriage licenses, I thought we were at $60 because that's the maximum state would allow us to charge.
The state increased that this year. So
Ah.
we're going up to the new maximum, and conciliation services, which is provided in our juvenile department, is funded through marriage licensing. And so this is one of the funds that over the last several years has been a little bit tenuous, I'll call it, on keeping this balance. So this helps stabilize the conciliation fund.
The $25 difference goes to it will be transferred from A
Correct.
to conciliation service.
Oh, okay.
So you were going and you got
I got
answers to your question, and so you're ready to adopt the schedule.
Yes.
I'm done.
Jerry's got no more questions, and yes, he's ready. Commissioner Fye?
Yeah, I'm ready. No questions other than just to ask to you, Tanya. I know recently we've been having a uniform deputy person in the board auditorium, and it's when we were talking about the uniform security and the increase. Is that something the board specifically pays out of our own budget for that deputy? I know it really does calm down the thermostat in the auditorium when he's there. So
We do have a MOU in place between the county administration office and the sheriff's office, which is in line with the charges that they would charge to any other partner, and it outlines exactly how many hours they're paid for, etc. So.
Thank you, board members. I'll go last. I really want to say thank you very much for the markup version. It was very helpful and good detail. I agree with the partial fee, full use setup that you've got and the choices. I really appreciated the columns on cost recovery and capped by that were highlighted in yellow and blue. On the justifications, things like I'm observing increased costs, staff time and materials, fully loaded hour of staff time, personnel cost increased over the past 2 years, increase due to CPIW 2.7%. That was all really useful information to see. It's a big schedule. I know it takes time. So that's why I want to compliment the team in the due diligence. My rest of are really set up as comments. DA criminal discovery fees need more work. It was on page 86 of 177 at the time. The page numbers were slightly updated. So I totally agreed with that. On what is now page 116 of 218, has to do with some park fees, potentially maybe controversial. They're non-controversial from my standpoint. So just wanted to reinforce that for the team. There's a whole section in the prior to the Monday version. It was page 118 of 177 where the estimated revenue was marked as immaterial. You know, every dollar counts. So I would rather see a different comment around how it's included in other fees or other work, because every dollar of staff time adds up. And I say this now, knowing what we've known for 8 years of reviewing this schedule versus having new players next year. That's all. Which got me thinking, so what defines material threshold? If it's immaterial, well, then that begs the question, there must be a material threshold. So think about it before next year. On what was 114 of 117, it had to do with Parks and Scoggins cancellation, saying something along the line of under the column note to see the column to the right, but the columns to the right were all blank. So I wasn't quite sure. Not big enough to change my assessment of the whole thing, but I just wanted to point it out. And then on wingspan, would exceed market rate to similar venues. So the decision to move forward with the wingspan was before my time on the county commission. But I got to experience that decision as a Metro councilor and the operator of both the convention center and the expo center, as well as the Portland Center for the Performing Arts. And so I just want to give some comments to ensure that the new board in 2027 and future compositions know that the construction land development broke ground, happened before there was a business plan for at least break even, and before there was a contract for construction. So that was all done with boards 2018 or prior. So this board, as it was as of 2019 and to date, we weren't responsible for the facility building decision, but it has been our responsibility to be good stewards of the public's investment. And that's what this rate schedule is all about. Trying to make sure that we're being good stewards of the public investment. So that's the way I see it. So I just wanted to add that comment. I totally stand by these recommendations. I have no further questions. I've completed my comments, and I join my 4 other colleagues in being ready to move forward.
If I could make one comment, it would be FISA on page 3 is the listing of your 24 new fees.
In the
In the workstation material.
Yep. There was a memo.
Yep. What outlines what the 24 fees are.
Yep. Okay. We are done with that topic. So thank you, Mr. Sire. You did great.
Thank you.
And give our thanks to Chris Weber, please. Yes. So we are now onward to the quarterly management report. Oh, Ms. Angie's got to use the clicker and drive it herself.
Good thing it's only about a 3-slide presentation. Okay, so here we are again. This was actually scheduled at your last work session. However, we had to schedule an executive session, so we bumped this item out to today. So today's agenda, we'll review the quarterly management report, which I'll include some highlights, and there's additional attachments. I will note Clerk Moss updated the packet this morning, and so I printed you out a copy. For some reason, the attached PDF didn't print out the full PDF document that's in front of you. The full document is posted online right now, but just for ease, you have the printed copy in front of you. And then, of course, as always, answer any questions and open to your discussion. So the format is the same in the areas of 1 through 4. This quarter, I will highlight there is a Community Correction Center and Harkins House briefing packet, which is an attachment, which I will walk through at a high level. So let's dive right in. If you have the quarterly management report, you can reference on page 4, and we'll start with the tour of the county. General government, capital and ARPA update. All 3 major facility upgrades, community corrections, justice services, building, law enforcement service are progressing as planned and well ahead of our ARPA timeline. Current plans estimate that the Community Correction Center will be finished by the end of May, followed by the Justice Services Building and Law Enforcement Center in September, which does ensure that the projects will be completed by December 31st of 2026. Separate to the ARPA spending, but happening concurrently with these improvements within the law enforcement center, include completion of anti-jump barrier installments and ongoing jail shower restorations, and further enhance safety and extension of the facility's lifespan. As you heard me in the elected officials town hall that you hosted just last evening, this is these projects are dollars being put into action of taking care of the facilities and assets that we have now. So being stewards of those assets, and also some improvements to ensure safety, such as the jump barriers of really helping support the safety of our adults in custody, which are housed there. Now moving on to ERP, it would not be a quarter without me talking about ERP. And the reason we wanted to highlight ERP is, number one, it was a significant financial investment, but this demonstrates how we are utilizing this investment and ensuring that we don't just stop. We continue to iterate and make improvements as we move forward. So we have implemented a streamlined governance structure to improve how we manage and develop our ERP system. So this includes Workday and then additional technology tools that may attach to Workday if Workday doesn't have the functionality. So this is internal, so it's not a governance system that the community nor the board will see. This is just how we do our work. And it's aimed at enhancing decision-making, boost transparency, and aligns long-term strategy with daily operations and unified framework. And so we are looking at separate buckets of work, which includes major releases of new updates to the system, defects and enhancements. When I say defects, that means from a department standpoint, when something doesn't feel like it's working right, how are we going to enhance it? And strategic roadmap projects. I'll give you an example of this in action. Multiple departments, such as Aaron Calvert and I just had a meeting with the Sheriff's Office, and they have a list of things they would like to see. Well, that list needs to be prioritized with HHS lists and housing. So we need a unified approach in how we manage this, and then communicating out to departments, where do you fall on this list? So they can see from a prioritization and that we're actually moving the ball forward, and it doesn't just feel like it's always I'll call it the crisis of the day.
I want to recognize that departments asking for something more from the tool. That's awesome.
Yes.
Compared to where we've come.
Yes.
No, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. The tool can't do that.
Yeah. Well, and then also with transparent sharing out, where does it land on those lists, and why are some things a higher priority than others? Okay, continuing the journey, we are going to move on to public safety and justice, community corrections. So parole and probation, the statewide pilot assessing contact standards is finished, and state standards will be formally implemented in May. Washington County is currently
Surpassed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Surprised? I was gonna say, oh, we were
These requirements. Sorry, I had too many words in my head at the same time.
We're done being surprised. We're
Yay.
surpassing.
I don't want any more surprises.
Yeah.
And this is really something to celebrate because this is not where we were just a few short years ago. So huge kudos to the team. This is so in line with the state's direction and pilot results. We are finalizing our local standards. This project is related to optional arming initiative, which is still scheduled for tentative rollout July 1st. On that, we continue to collaborate very, very closely with the Sheriff's Office in neighboring counties to ensure consistency, gather guidance, and learn from their experience. Our approach remains thoughtful and deliberate, prioritizing service improvement, employee and community safety, and reduction of risk and liability. So staying with community corrections, the center is currently budgeted for 167 of its 215 beds. That is the same budget that you will see within your proposed budget. Renovations have resumed on the bathrooms in the first 2 dorms and are expected to be completed within 4 to 6 weeks. Once these renovations are finished, renovations will continue in remaining dorm rooms and in the public and staff restrooms. So there is a theme here in the county, just both in this quarterly update, and I'll put a nod to the what you'll hear in the proposed budget and Sheriff's Office related restrooms. And when you think of, improvements to restrooms or locker rooms, that may seem insignificant, but from both individuals who are housed in these areas and also staff needing to use the restrooms and locker rooms, this makes a huge difference in both employee engagement and satisfaction. The center's leadership team continues to adopt innovative strategies and adapt to systems change to address community needs, working in partnership with the County Administration Office and County Council. The center also offers ongoing support to the Sheriff's Office by accepting pre-trial justice-involved individuals and out-of-custody J2s, providing stability and transition services aimed at reducing recidivism through structure, support, and key resources. I wanted to lift this up because we talk about jail capacity and community correction center in the same sentence, and this is just one example of how they are working in
Cost coverage for that?
within the center budget. And that's part of, and I'm going to now transition into the Oregon Public Safety Coordination Grant. So part of our state dollars through CJC helps make this happen, Chair. So Oregon is consolidating multiple public safety grants into a single, more structured process beginning in the 27-29 biennium. Counties will need coordinated planning and progress reporting on this process, and we are preparing early and staying closely connected with CJC on this new process. I will just editorialize this a bit, that this makes me a bit nervous of what this change could mean to Washington County. So I would call this an area to watch as we move forward with this new grant process and what it could mean to the county.
So you're feeling like the combination, the combining of these three into one has some downside to it.
We're not sure yet. There could be risk in that, we don't have a lot of experience of getting additional money for operations from the state, and so I think it's just based on just what we've seen or experienced over time of reductions of the state funding, state county shared services. That's why I'm not saying what the caution, but it's just an area to watch as this process rolls
Anytime
out.
there is changes, you're exactly correct. Redefine things.
And the third paragraph makes me think that they're moving from assuming you're performing satisfactorily unless proven otherwise or held accountable otherwise to now you have to demonstrate satisfactory performance, and then you might have the possibility of additional funding.
This has gotten some airtime at the Public Safety Coordinating Council.
It hasn't it too at the AOC Public Safety Steering Committee. So on that fourth paragraph, I'm concerned that CJC is only communicating with local public safety coordinating committees when ultimately the county commissioners are held accountable for the overall budget. And our team does a great job in making sure that we as a commission understand funding. Sorry, Aaron isn't here, Aaron Calvert, to hear understanding how the full stack of public safety and justice works through our budget versus only looking budget-wise at just public safety and justice. So, wow.
And that's why we wanted to make sure we included it here. And yes, Erin's not here, and I know she's not listening because she's in a public safety meeting right now. Sheriff's Office staffing update. Really, the key point here that I want to highlight is progress has been made in workforce stabilization and position the organization to reach full operational capacity across the jail and many of the other divisions in this upcoming fiscal year. And you'll hear more about that when Aaron Calvert presents the public safety and justice areas. Staying consistent, we have provided just an update on Sheriff's Office recruitments within the next section. One area that I would like to highlight: in August of 2025, the Sheriff's Office started to find creative and proactive ways to improve recruitment, which included starting a partnership with public safety testing. Public safety testing offers an alternative to the national testing network for entry-level written exams. While most Oregon agencies rely solely on NTN, known for its strong statewide score sharing, PST is widely used across Washington state and offers similar benefits. So this is just in essence expanding our pool, so we expand our reach, and it's proving to be beneficial. Now moving on to land use and transportation. Following your board's direction, staff are working through the next steps of implementation relative to what was the CPO and CCI structure. This will include developing an ordinance to amend the county's comprehensive plan elements according to the board's direction. There's many references that highlight CCI and CPO, as well as specific responsibilities for those land use plans. So you will be seeing more information, and I just wanted to list it here that we are continuing to work through that process. SB 1601, relative to safe routes to school. This is good news that projects that were already awarded to the county are still being continued and awarded. We have 2 active safe routes to school projects, one to install sidewalks around Witch Hazel Elementary School in Hillsborough and another to fill sidewalk gaps between 175th Avenue between Kinnaman Road and Bland Street. I'm not going to talk about vehicle registration fee because we've talked about that several times, but thank you for your leadership, Commissioner Treese and Commissioner Snyder. LUT has been a wonderful One Washington County Ethos partner in the capital improvement plan, and we continue to make investments within our transportation network. Now,
Orange everywhere, all over the county.
now moving on to Housing, Health, and Human Services. Staff are exploring 2 related efforts, including the Office of Community Development and Department of Housing Services. So that includes co-location of those 2 work groups within Adam Street Crossing, which we're moving forward with. And then also exploring department integration, so combining the Office of Community Development into the housing department. So what would be the goals of this? Combined department could generate cost savings by lowering administrative costs, ensuring operational resources, integrating the county's housing development, funding, and program administration functions could improve policy alignment, streamline processes, and enhance experience for community partners and residents. And the work continues to ensure the county maintains proper transparency and role clarity, both as a funder and a developer or owner in the community. So I think this is one example of just the stellar work at department leadership and also within our ACAs to continue to explore how are we doing our work, and is there a more efficient way for us to structure our work moving forward. So more to come on this.
That one is particularly interesting to me because when I first started, I thought they were part of the same time. I had to figure out that they weren't. So now it validates my brain a little.
I thank you for being clear that this is being evaluated and it's early days yet.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Good work.
Okay, next, Hague Lake. So Parks continues to develop 3 capital improvement projects: campground, visitor center, park office at Scoggins Valley Park, and the Tualatin River access facility at Eagle Landing. Permit applications have been submitted. In March, Parks was awarded a $500,000 grant from the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for the campground and submitted a $375,000 grant application to the Oregon State Marine Board for Eagle Landing project. So just want to commend our Parks team for they're always out there looking for any dollars and applying for any grant, which is incredibly beneficial and it is noticed. There's other just Hague Lake highlights within the quarterly management report for your reference. If you turn to page 11 through 13, that is the program plan of record for your reference. Status, I would say the highlight here is everything is complete and or on track to be completed. The only one I'll point out is on page 12. We do have minor comp plan amendments, and that is just we have uncertain at this time, meaning timing, and that's just based on workload. So in the next quarterly report, you'll see an update on that. The back section, which really want to give huge kudos to Erin Calver, Jennifer Kearley, and Kaylin Barrows for their work on this. Prior to going into this budget cycle, before we had the county receive the good news on the AV growth, one of the questions that has came up over time is, could we close Parkins House? Could we close the Community Correction Center? Could, even the community correction center. Why even expand the jail? Can't community correction center just be rehabbed into another jail? So lots of different kind of ideas. And so this was aimed at providing some high level information of why do we have both of these centers. So within this packet, I will reference you first to this colorful graphic, which is a depiction of our public safety and justice service delivery model. I think this is a good high level of our model. I know I have used this in talking with community members, so I'm lifting that up in case that's helpful to you, because from a community member perspective, what the county's role in public safety and justice service delivery is not always understood based on someone's own experience with the system. And so this helps really show how interrelated it is, and in many ways, unfortunately, how complicated it can be to understand as well. If so, the first handout includes an overview of the Community Corrections Center, including the cost of operating the center, programs and services, the outcomes of the center, and then also the pathways of individual. How do you even enter, or how do you become a service user of the correction center? And then the same is also type of overview is given for the Harkins House as well. The last longer written narrative is included so that it's publicly available as well, is the 2025 grand jury report on the correctional facilities located in Washington County. And so this report is submitted to the county and provided to the board on an annual basis, and I included it in here so it's publicly available.
First time I've seen it. Thank you. And I'll kick off comments. I want to say that flow diagrams for the Community Correction Center and Harkins House are really provide a lot of clarity that show how the inflow of clients, justice involved individuals or youth, comes from aspects that the county has no control over, right? The court has a big say in all of this, the state with the prison and probation. So it's very useful to have that information. Everything in here is really valuable information. Other comments at this juncture? I know I'll read it in detail at another time.
I don't have any questions, but the end of the report, what are the initials? Is that staff initials or
Grand jurors.
Grand jurors and their number.
numbers?
Makes me tired. There's a lot of work that has gone on. It's just,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It really is. So I guess kudos to you and to staff and to everybody. So I look at this as much of a celebration of work as well as a report out. So thank you for this.
Very proud of the work that the management team has been leading and all the opportunities that you've been managing through.
I think the detailed content on the Community Corrections Center at Harkins House
Really good.
really both well done and really helpful. I think will help us answer questions of the community more thoroughly, and
I can make
appreciate having them.
that, Commissioner Snyder, I can make sure that we get to your staff assistants just the separate PDF for each of those so that you can use that for distribution purpose.
And I'm thinking about other audiences for the entire report, especially the last piece from the grand jurors. That's something that I think all of our mayors should have. That's the very last piece, the last narrative. This
black and
we're
white.
starting on page,
Yeah, you're in it. You're in it.
2025 grand jury.
Starts, it all Word document. Starts, the title is 2025 Grand Jury Report on Correctional Facilities
Oh, okay.
in Washington County.
This is required annually.
By the state. Any other questions or comments?
Lot going on. Thank you.
Yeah, good job on this.
Very much.
To work though, okay.
She says a few
Very facetiously.
facetiously. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of today's agenda for our work session. We covered a lot of ground and territory, and that'll be it for work session today. So other than budget committees, we'll see one another next Tuesday. Thank you very much.